My name is Tibbetts. I'm a Valrhona pastry chef, and I'd like to show you how to make a glazed mousse cake. We're going to make this mousse with a crème anglaise, and then we'll use this to make a ganache, and then we'll incorporate whipped cream. So whenever we're making a ganache, we want to use the emulsion process. We start with melted or partially melted chocolate and hot liquid. I'll take this liquid and I'll pour it in several additions over my chocolate, stirring constantly each time. So I'm going to start with the first addition. So I'm going to continue adding my hot liquid until all of it is incorporated and I have a smooth, shiny ganache. And then I'm going to immersion blend it. And this technique is called perfecting the emulsion. We just want to make sure that everything is nice and smooth before we fold in our whipped cream. Whenever I put the immersion blender into my ganache, I want to make sure that I put it in at an angle and I tap out any large air bubbles. Once I've blended my ganache, I'm going to set this aside and then I'm going to whip my cream. So I have my cold cream in a chilled mixing bowl, and I want to bring this to a very soft peak. When you have a looser cream with a softer peak to it, it's easier to incorporate into your ganache. This also means you're going to have a much more fluid product, so you can pipe it into molds or forms that have very intricate shapes and corners. Your cream should be whipped on medium speed. If you whip it too high, you'll get very large air bubbles that as you start to incorporate into your ganache will disperse very quickly. If you whip it too low, you'll heat up the cream and you won't get a good aeration. You basically want to stop whipping just as it starts to hold its own shape. Once you have your whipped cream, you can go back to your ganache. We want to make sure that our ganache isn't too warm. If it is too warm, it will end up melting our whipped cream. The temperature that I'm looking for is around 105 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Once my ganache is in the proper temperature range, my cream is whipped. Now we'll incorporate the two together. I want to put my ganache into a slightly larger bowl so that it's easier to fold in. I'm going to break my cream down into 3 parts. The first addition will be very small, and it's just to incorporate the cream quickly into the chocolate, making the 2 second additions easier to fold in. And now the second addition, I'm going to be slightly more gentle with and fold in. And finally, I'll add the last addition of the whipped cream. Once your mousse is finished, you can see that you have a very fluid consistency. This is what's going to be best for molding and pouring into very intricate molds. The key is that once your mousse is poured into the mold, that it needs to be refrigerated and then frozen overnight. Now that we have our mousses unmolded, it's time to glaze them. So here I've made a glaze using chocolate, cream, and Valrhona Absolute Cristal, which is our neutral glaze. This is a product that's available to professionals only, but there's many other options and recipes for glazes. I'm using this glaze at around 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and I want to make sure that it's at the proper temperature so that I get the right thickness and viscosity to coat my cake. If my glaze is too warm, it'll sheet right off the sides of the cake. And then if it's too cool, it won't actually spread over the sides of the cake. Once you have your glazed mousse cake, it's essentially a blank canvas, so you can decorate it any way you desire. In this case, we're going to be using some tempered chocolate decor in 4 different colors. And there you have it, your finished glazed mousse cake.